It's just so much better than regular season. I mean, it's completely different, right? All the optimism and the quality of hockey and the intensity of hockey changes because you just cannot play this sport at playoff level for 82. There'd be nothing left of these men. So everybody brings their best game. You get to evaluate your team and your players, and you get to enjoy the hell out of it. So it's great.
What do you like most about the way your group's playing heading in?
I like that we've been through some things. We've got some scars on us, and there's some 2 or 3 very difficult stretches and challenges this year that we could have easily broken. But not only did we survive in it, we changed our game in those times and got better. So I like that we've handled some rough patches.
It's obviously been something you've talked about a lot, just like learning to go through adversity. Do you remember times in your career where there's been a team that kind of maybe went through some similar things in this regular season and
every one of my first 16 years. I mean, we spent a lot of time, the franchise in Hartford / Carolina was in, I would say, disarray. I don't think they had won a 7-game series and got to the finals and the conference finals 3 times over 7 years, and almost the same through Winnipeg. It hadn't won a playoff game, right? So in that stretch from where you start to where you get to, there's lots of adversity and lots of heartbreak, and you learn to handle it. Here's a different animal. So much of the core is coming into its prime now, and it's kind of paid for those players, 7, 8, 9 years ago. So we're just starting to come into it now.
Yeah, this situation's different here, right? That's a lot of the teams you took over, no expectations.
Almost all
this
teams.
One's high.
Yeah, so almost all teams. When the coaching change is made, it's because the program is at a different phase. This was unusual, to say the least, and there were challenges in that as well. But we have changed our game, and we've survived some adversity, and I'll get a little bit more on the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, looking at, I'm sure you've been poring over the game tape, or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
video.
It's not tape for George. Tape's not anymore, man. Come on.
Not tape.
Used to be.
Yeah, it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, there's no weaknesses there, right? That's the strength of their team, is the strength of it through their lineup and through their quality of play. So we have to be absolutely at our best to beat them.
When it's a team that, as strong as they were, got better at the trade deadline. I mean, they just added to it, kind of like the Panthers did last year.
They have got 5 really good players that won't make their opening night roster. So they're deep, for sure.
When you look at Boston and you pour over the footage, do you see kind of a recipe, like this is how we're going to beat them if we do things like that?
I know the places that we have to be exceptionally strong at to give ourselves a chance. I'm not sharing those with you. But yeah, this is about the places in their game that we have to be right on every time to give ourselves a chance.
What does it say about Alex Lyon's character to come in at the most critical juncture, the most critical moment of your season to do the job that he has done?
I think twice he did. And interestingly enough, those are the 2 stretches that we would talk about adversity, because it's the opportunity presented itself for your third goalie to come in, which is adversity in itself. But maybe those were the 2 best times for him to come in, because we were banged up and we had players out of our lineup and we were schedule heavy at those times. Not that the pressure's off, but what we needed from our players is what we got from our goaltender as well. We needed to scratch and claw and survive. So we, as a team, looked better in our second set of adversity. Was it just the pressure that we were under, stretches without Barkov, without Bennett. But we still played a far more controlled game in that second stretch, and I would say the same is true of Alex.
Sam Bennett wasn't out there this morning. Is there any update?
It was early. He skated on a different sheet than us, so if he comes back strong tomorrow, he'll skate again on his own, and then we'll start working him into practice.
Is there a chance he's for the series still?
Yeah, there's a chance.
Talk about Boston's depth, but your guys' top end, I guess the guys you would call your stars, were really, really good for you down the stretch, like 10-plus points each for them.
Yeah.
Just having those guys, Barkov, Kachuk, Montour, even Ekblad, like all kind of playing their best. How much confidence, I guess, does that give you?
The places that we're closer to even is the offensive parts of the game, and we can score goals, we generate chances, and our back end scores. We've got guys on our back end, and we're going to need that clearly. We're more evenly matched offensively right now than we are defensively, So you have to make up for that in pure effort and shot blocks and all the very, very hard things in the game, which is the journey that we've been on all year, identifying that, accepting that, and then delivering on that.
You said a few minutes ago that if you played 82 playoff games as the lead into the playoffs, there'd be nothing left of these guys. The fact that you have played 10 or 15 of them, how much does that help, sharpen the edge that you're gonna need? The fact that you've had.
Yeah, that part's all mental. So we've come into a whole bunch of games when the puck drops feeling that we absolutely had to win that game, that we did carry a different pressure into our locker room. And had a bunch of games that between the second and third period, that game was tight, and we found a way to play our best hockey in Chicago and certainly in Washington, a dominant third in the most pressure. So we're used to that stomach in the throat coming to the rink feeling. It's a good feeling. Sometimes it's new for teams if they haven't dealt with it, but for our team, we've dealt with it.
It wasn't a long time ago that there was really not much playoff experience in that room. What does it mean now when I think pretty much almost every guy in the room has at least one round?
Yeah, it does matter because you don't have to try to explain to them what this is going to be. It's going to be different tomorrow, right? The building will be louder than any building in the regular season, and the intensity of every shift, of every hit, of every play will be higher. At least you don't have to explain that. They understand that.
That might be the loudest building in any of the playoff ones tomorrow, Monday. I mean, just with the day, it's a holiday, everybody's gonna be.
Got a ball game the night before, a marathon the day of, everybody's rolling by the time the game starts,
It's gonna be a whole party.
One great thing about our league and our fans is that every home building will absolutely be rocking for the playoffs, and it's up to the road team to quiet it.
What's the biggest upset you've been a part of in your career?
I think every time we beat Jersey between 95 and 05,
Just looking at this year, how, it's pretty big disparity.
I don't know in terms of numbers, but in terms of expectations, probably Toronto in the conference final, pre-cap era days. But I think maybe even game one of the 2002 Stanley Cup final, their starting six payroll was bigger than our whole team's. We won that game in overtime. We lost that series in game 3 of triple overtime. So you can work and compete and level the playing field on that alone.
That's Detroit, right?
Correct. They weren't bad.
Any chance Bennett flies with you guys tomorrow?
Who does?
Bennett?
No, he'll be on the trip for sure.
Thanks, Scott.